How's it going, everybody? Today I have a very special interview with an old friend of mine from Nashville. His name is Landon Hunt, and he also has a YouTube channel, which I will link below in the description. And today we basically talked about the realistic expectations of being a professional musician in Nashville, touring with major artists, tour managing artists, and pretty much anything that has to do with making money in the music industry. We definitely discussed the notorious Broadway music scene, playing for tips, and the financial lows and highs of being a professional musician in Nashville. Landon has played with many artists, those from Black Jacket Symphony, Jake Hoot from The Voice. He is open for major headliners such as Alabama and Darius Rucker, and he's even played Good Morning America more than a few times. I've known Landon for about 5 years, and today I'm very pleased to be able to bring you this interview with him today. I hope it helps a lot of you, and of course I know you'll all leave comments below on what you think, but please go ahead and like and share the video if this helps you today. And I really appreciate it, and also thank you for the 4,000 subscribers. If you want private one-on-one guitar instruction from me, make sure to send me an email. The link is in the description and the pinned comment below. State your case and I will get back to you promptly. And also, don't forget to sign up for the free monthly newsletter. The link is also in the description and pinned comment below. So now we will get into this interview. Yeah, I mean, I've kind of dogged on Broadway a little bit on my channel, but
Yeah,
obviously it's kind of lucrative for a lot of people when they get to Nashville, because that's kind of like the mingle spot if you're not already connected. So
right.
would you say that that is like, a good opportunity for people? I mean, clear the air on like if that's a viable thing to do, and money wise realistic expectations, because there's people that like only do that in Nashville. They don't even do touring.
Absolutely. I think Broadway, if it is looked at as some kind of like consistent, always going to be here type gig, that's not really a good way to look at it. I think that's what a lot of musicians think when they jump into doing that full time. But as I've been seeing lately in this Facebook group I'm in, that's just Broadway musicians, there's been a lot of stages that have just been like canceling gigs, like people are losing their regular shifts, and that's just like a factor that you have to think about with playing down there. I think it is definitely a good way to learn a bunch of tunes in a short amount of time. Um, there's really no amount of preparation you can do that will make you or help you play your first gig perfect. And in general, you're not going to play any Broadway gig perfectly. You have to kind of get that mentality out of your head, because there's like an ever growing list of songs. There's like probably thousands of songs at this point that could be called at any time.
And how much would you say on the average, like so you're someone that is seasoned in this, I remember even like then I think you were doing Broadway like 2 or 3 nights a week. So how much money would you say you earn just from that on a consistent basis?
Like per gig, rather, or just kind of average per gig?
Yeah, kind of like an average, what to
Yeah,
expect.
I would say, I mean, that question has a lot of different answers, but I guess it depends on where you start playing first. If you're playing like on some of these early morning gigs, you could be making 50, $65 in base pay, and then maybe $10 in tips. That's just some of the places, but then it can go all the way up to, you know, you could be walking away with 750 on a gig with tips and stuff. Like it's just all by chance. I feel like down there, like I was just telling my girlfriend the other day, there was like this gig I got offered to play at one of the bars that it was a shift that I had done before, where it's like a closing gig on a Monday night. And I know, okay, well, they're going to make me play till 2:15, and I'm probably going to walk away with $120. So I ended up not taking it. And then I was talking to a buddy of mine a few weeks later, and he was like, yeah, I ended up taking this gig the other day at the bar I was just talking about. And I was like, oh, was it a Monday closer? He's like, yeah. He's like, we made like $800 because this like real estate investor came in and was just dumping 100s into the bucket. So like
Wow.
that, it just can kind of all be by chance. But I would wager that like your 6 to 10s and your 10 to 2 a.m. gigs are going to pay more money. I mean, the 2 to 6 gigs.
Yeah,
Okay.
and would you I mean, because yeah, the way people talk about this stuff is kind of like McDonald's.
you know, like
With the shift work, yeah.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I never heard anyone say that until I moved to Nashville. Like, oh, I got this 2 to 10. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You know, or 10 to 2 rather, because it's all like 4 hour blocks.
I'm
What's
working a
like,
double today.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
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 like
yeah.
that.
Like I've heard I'm working a double. I mean, let's talk about like let's talk about this and then I'll backtrack a little bit to where you started. But
Yeah.
you know, in terms of playing this much music, okay, so I mean, I'm teaching all day usually or making YouTube videos that have to do with music, but like playing guitar for even 4 hours, then you add another four onto that, like you're doing a double. I mean, let's just talk about the fact that mostly everybody probably doesn't have any health insurance. You're gonna get like arthritis, you know, carpal tunnel. I mean, has this happened to you? Like, you ever get off a gig and you're like, man, I feel like I cannot play any more gigs for like a week?
There was a time in 2023 when I was playing, a bunch on Broadway and doing some road stuff. I think it was around like CMA Fest week, so there was a lot of stuff going on for me personally, and I was starting to get some really bad wrist pain in my left wrist, but it was like conflicting because it's like I couldn't really practice, but it was also a time when I needed to be playing a lot because I had a lot on the calendar, and so I just kind of dealt with that by using like a what do you call it, like a wrist, not a
Yeah,
sling.
like a brace.
Yeah, like kind of like a brace, and I would just wear that anytime I wasn't playing, to kind of help
Yeah,
mitigate that, and it helped some. But I mean, fortunately, I didn't have any deeper underlying issues from that. I want to add to this too, because this is kind of the reason I'm at the point I'm at in my life right now. But playing Broadway a lot, if you don't really have like a specific goal or direction with it, it can quickly burn you out with music.
like it's like depressing.
Yeah, it's almost like because there are guys that I know that do Broadway full time that love it and they get a lot out of it and they're fulfilled by it, probably because of who they're playing with. I mean, that's a huge part of it too. But for me personally, like the idea of just doing that for the rest of my life and being like, well, that's what music ends up being for me. This dream that I've had since I was a kid is just to play cover gigs on this one strip in town for the rest of my life. Like it started to make me kind of depressed.
That's a tough one. There's some people that I have met in Nashville that are like, I love Broadway. I'm content with this. Some people feed their family off Broadway. I know that too
Yeah.
for a fact. So there's nothing wrong with it. But I think, yeah, like if you're not that kind of musician and you feel like you're, you know, led to do more and you get stuck doing that, it's like, yeah, you're going to hate your life. It's going to make you actually want to quit music, you know?
Sure.
But just to cap that thought, what's the most you've ever made on Broadway in one night, and what's the least you ever made? And when you made that money, did it make you want to quit?
Oh, good question. So, if we're talking about like in a day, like
In one day?
the most I've made is probably about it was probably about 750, 800.
That was you personally?
Yeah, but that was
Damn.
I played a triple. I played for 12 hours.
Okay, so you made like
Yeah,
like like 250, 300 on
yeah,
the,
roughly.
okay.
Yeah, so I mean, it's good money when you stack it all together in that case. But I probably on a okay. So I'll go back and answer that. So probably the most on a gig was probably about like 450, 475. And then the least amount I've ever made on a gig was actually this year. I think it was probably about $55.
Okay, and when this happened to you, was this like a, man, should I even keep doing this, or did you just brush it off?
Um, it was during a slow season of this year, and I tried to brush it off. And then I ended up playing a gig later that day that I made like 350 on, so that helped. But it's the reason it was it kind of bothered me was because it was an opening shift at like I'm not gonna like drop the names of the bars just because I don't want to like give away which ones I'm talking about. But
Yeah, that's fine.
there's one bar downtown in particular that has a huge main floor, and like guys that play there make like 500 to $1,000 a gig pretty consistently. And it was on the second floor of that bar. And so I took the gig thinking like this is going to be good money because, it's right above the main floor, but literally like nobody came in there the entire time for 4 hours. And so, and
Wow.
the singer was just not on it that day either, so it just kind of made the time just like go by super slow. And yeah, I was kind of like I was pretty mad about it, but you know, it it came and passed, and at the end of the day, it was just a gig.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. I mean, that's positive. Would you say, more often than not, though, you're making better money than $50?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd say it averaged about um, probably anywhere from 150 to 250 a gig.
Okay, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Uh,
So then you're playing with Jake Hoot, right? How'd you get
yeah.
into that group?
So I auditioned for him literally like a week or two before everything shut down for the pandemic, and then like as 2021 started, we started to pick up more with Jake. So it's been
Yeah, and for people that don't know who he is, he won American Idol, right? Back
uh,
in
he won The Voice in
or The
2019.
Voice, The
Yeah.
Voice, yeah. Yeah, so there's a story that I've told a lot of people in passing. And this was like very, because I remember, and I won't say the number, but I remember you were on tour for a while. And I think you were just starting to transition out of the Jake Hoot gig. Like you were doing it for years, and then you finally were starting to get other stuff. And obviously, I was doing my thing, mostly doing covers all the time and touring also. And we finally had like this coinciding schedule where we got lunch at this place, and then we went and compared numbers on what kind of money we were both making. And you were like, you basically told me something to the effect of you opened a show for Darius Rucker and you got paid bucks. And then I compared it to myself and I got paid like more than double basically for not even opening for an artist. It was like just me doing covers. And I remember thinking that at the time, and it kind of put a sour taste in my own mouth because I'm like, damn, if I want to get out of what I'm doing in this town and get into some cooler stuff, I'm going to make less money doing it. What is your impression? Or I don't even know if you recall that whole thing where you told me that, but okay, you do recall that.
Yeah. I mean, I remember us talking about something like that at one point. Yeah. What's my impression of how that?
Well, like, I mean, how do you feel about it now versus then? I mean, because I know what my impression was when you told me that, and I was like, man, I really want to get out of the gig I'm in right now, but I feel like I should just stay if that's the case,
At the time, I just feel like it wasn't bad because I wasn't trying, like at the time I wasn't making a living full time doing music. It wasn't the sole thing I was relying on. Um, and so it was fine for what it was. And like when I was able to finally get a gig that paid a bit more, like that made it a little easier to kind of step away and from the stuff I was doing on the side.
Yeah. So what are some of the gigs now that you've been doing?
So I've been playing guitar and tour managing for this artist, Brandon Wisham. He's a newer artist. He just put out music for the first time this year. But we've been just doing like acoustic shows, and it's been, well, I guess power acoustic really. So I've been playing electric, and he's been playing acoustic, and then I've been doing harmonies, and I've been
And
just
you're
playing.
tour managing on top of that?
Yeah, I'm doing like a pseudo tour managing position, so I'm not having to. I'm more like a on-site type of person. So like I'm not advancing the shows or booking the travel. I'm more so like making sure I contact our day of show, making sure we get paid, making sure that
Mm,
everything's running on schedule, like checking us into hotel rooms and stuff like that. So
that's
it's
still a lot
actually
of work.
it's not too bad, and I actually don't even have to run merch half the time. I just gotta make sure that it's closed out. At the end of the night, we usually just kind of pay somebody to do that. Um,
Now is that a salaried position for you? How does that work?
I'm paid on a show rate, and I get paid extra to tour manage as well.
Okay. Yeah, and are you still doing local stuff at the same time, or is this the main thing?
So it's interesting. That's why I kind of when I mentioned like at the point I'm at in my life now. So um, throughout the summer, starting in June, I was starting to book my own gigs downtown, like as a front on Broadway, and I was doing those every week from June to July, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. And I just had some friends of mine that I would call to play. And so I was doing that and just hustling a bunch of other gigs. I did some sub work with a few artists that I've played with in the past, just out of town on the road. And, just kind of making gigging still like the primary source of income. But for a long time this year, man, about probably since the beginning of this year, I've been kind of like trying to figure out a way that I could still make money without having to gig full time. And I just kind of over time, like throughout the summer and stuff, I started to realize like I'm not going to figure that thing out if I'm still actively just like gigging constantly. And the only way I can really slow that down is if I find something else that's not music related that I can do to then kind of just like clear my head and just like have a better perspective on life. And so a buddy of mine that I play at a church with sometimes, he used to be a full-time drummer on Broadway, and that was like his main thing. And he started to get really burnt out on it. And he found this job through a guy that he was just helping out that basically allowed him to work remote, have a salary, benefits, and kind of have, still some decent flexibility. And so I'd kind of been talking to him about it for a while and was kind of expressing that I was interested. And then one day he reached out and was like, "Hey man, we're actually hiring for that position. Like, here's the link if you want to apply." And then I did, and then I did 3 different interviews and then ended up getting it. And so that started at the beginning of August, which has also been an incredibly busy month for touring for me. But I've been able to balance both, which has been really cool. And I think it's definitely been helpful because now I have a consistent paycheck and I can kind of take the gigs I want to. So like, at least for this month or September and August, really, I've avoided taking any other gigs because I've just been busy so much with this Brandon artist.
Yeah.
And it's been good. I'm just trying to figure out once things slow down, if I can get a better perspective on kind of what I'm looking for long term with music.
Well, that is so relatable because I think I experienced exactly kind of how what you were feeling when I was still out there, which is part of the reason I moved. It's because, for me, obviously I had a much more turbulent situation than yours where you could take a step back. But for me, I did get burned out, like going on the road every like, I mean, it was like literally to the point, which I'm sure is the same for you at one point, where it's like you're coming off the road maybe on a Sunday evening, you get back, then you got like 3 days off, and then you're back on the road on Thursday through the weekend. And by the time you unpack your bag, you might as well just not have done that and just leave it.
Go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
That was all of August, man. So, I mean, I guess really from like halfway through, I would leave on like a Thursday, come back Sunday. There was one week where we left on a Wednesday night and didn't get back till Monday morning. We did 4 shows. So it was a lot. And
at the time it's like, it's a thrill. Like, especially when you first start doing it, you're like, oh man, I love doing this. And then after a while you have no life when you get home. It's like, why do I even live in a place? I should just live on a bus full time.
Right. Exactly. And fortunately I haven't had, or I mean, I guess it depends on how you look at it. I would say fortunately for this year, I haven't been gone as much and I've been able to kind of have a better balance and like social life here in Nashville, which has been good.
Yeah. I think the burnout thing, you just start, I know for me, I started feeling gross like all the time. I just always feel like shit, be up till like 4 a.m., never got enough sleep. So I know for me, that was what made me just not even want to go on the road anymore. I'm like, I'm done.
I don't know. There's not a lot of consistency with it. And even when things are busy, like, I don't know always how much money I'm going to make every month. And like, that's just a factor that comes with doing that full time.
But would you say for you, like, because a lot of people have, including myself, frankly, like the mental stigma of like, I have to be a full-time musician. If I'm not doing that, I failed. And I think I know for myself, I mean, definitely there was a lot of years that I stuck by that. I was like, if I'm not doing this and this is the only source of income I have failed. And I guess to my own benefit, because I'm stubborn, I kind of did go with that. But I know for everybody, there's levels to it mentally that, hey, some people are like, hey, I'm cool. Like if I'm just, this is like part of my income and I do this other thing too. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that?
I'm glad you mentioned that because that was actually something I had wanted to talk about before I came on. How there is, it might be in my head, and I think a lot, but I think a lot of musicians around me think this way. It's like, if you're not doing music as a full-time living, then you're not successful. And like, I just kind of stopped caring about that bullshit as far as like what the voices in my head might be saying about that, or like what my voices in my head, or the voices in my head of like me imagining what my friends think about me making this transition. And I just kind of like silenced all that and was just like, well, I'm going to do this for me because I feel like this is what would help me, kind of get a better relationship with music, is just taking a step back from taking all these gigs and just getting a full-time job that allows me to be flexible. Um, and I had a buddy I was getting coffee with a few months ago that was even like, because I hadn't even heard about this job yet. And I was just kind of talking to him about, well, I need to maybe find something outside of music. He was like, don't do that. He's like, just keep doing music and like try to find something creative that you can do within it. But the more I realized it, the more I thought about it, the more I realized I was like, I'm not, I personally don't feel like I'm going to find that if I keep doing music full time.
Yeah, because
Because
you get caught up in it.
yeah, and it just furthers the cycle of burnout, if that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
But yeah, don't let anyone else's opinions about what you should be doing with your life and with music dictate how you live your life, because ultimately it's your own mental health, it's your own journey with music. Like, you have to figure that out for yourself.
Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that because I think a lot of people uh, deal with that, including myself. I think it also depends what kind of person you are. Like, I am definitely, as much as, well, I guess it's a good thing I've realized this in my life. I can't have it. I can't work for people.
Yeah.
I'm too like, and maybe in a sense stubborn in a positive manner, but like I just don't like having a boss. I don't like people, like I'm just that kind of person. So I always knew from a young age, like for myself, if I'm going to make a living doing this thing, I have to literally just work on my own pace for myself.
Mhm.
And that is my goals. But I also feel like for me, the goal was actually a little bit less music related and more of like, I just want to have my own business. And if music is the means of me having my business, I'm very happy with that. And I think some people almost put the music thing on a pedestal, like I got to go out and do this great thing, or this didn't work out, like I got to go record with the biggest artists, I got to tour with the biggest artists, I got to get a Grammy. Like there's people with that mentality, and if they don't do those things in their mind, they have failed. So I think there's levels to it, with wanting the fame monster, you could say. Like it is kind of a disease to some people, I think, if you don't balance your life in a certain way. um I don't know, would you agree with that?
Absolutely, man. And just to kind of a perspective, like, just you got to figure out what you want from music, because like there's the thing, like you were just bringing up, like the Grammys, or like doing all this cool stuff. Like, for me as a touring musician, like it's been really cool to play certain venues and to travel and see cool places. But I sometimes I walk away a little bit discontent, because I'm like, well, I played this really cool venue, but I was the one of three opener for this headlining act, and the artist I'm playing for, I don't really care about their music that much. Like, so I got to do something cool, but is this really fulfilling to me? Because like I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin in Boston and like all this cool classic rock shit, and it's like that music like has inspired me. And there's definitely a lot of artists I play with, I like their music, but it's not like country music is not what I grew up wanting to do with my life.